So, as many of you know, I'm currently looking for a new job, and the job search process never ceases to hit new lows, be it the six-part interview processes, the gaslighting, the ghosting, the super long job application forms that ask you to fill out the same information, the asking for customized cover letters when it's very clear the company will never actually read them. This one reaches another new low, and I always say to myself, it can't get worse than this, but it always does. So this was a job I applied for. So just looking at the posting, I've just been kind of applying for everything I can. So I guess shame on me. So in the title of the job, this is phrased as being a normal level position. It doesn't say senior or junior. It doesn't say entry level or senior level. Now, going down under it, it says that this position can take the form of, and it lists like four or five things that aren't the same as what the actual job posting is. And then if you go further down, it says, oh, this is a senior position. It adds senior to the job title, which is not what the posted job title is. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm like retarded or I'm just a Puritan or something. I kind of feel though, if you're going to make a job posting, it shouldn't be different in the description and in the title. That seems kind of fraudulent to me. Also, it's a senior position, but not a senior position. And before we get into this, and I'll reveal it at the end of this, maybe just post in the chat how many years of experience you think that this job requires for this senior, not senior position, in light of how long this application form is going to be to fill out. So maybe post your guesses below because you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it once we get into that. Okay, so this is the email they sent me. I've removed all personally identifiable information, anything specifically related to my field. Thanks for sending your resume and congratulations on proceeding to this next step. Happy face. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a stickler. I don't really like it when people use emojis in emails. It just doesn't seem very professional to me. Please see the questions below. If you could please answer these questions as part of the formal recruitment process, we would most appreciate it. You do not have to spend expansive time on this exercise, which is a massive lie. This step allows us to determine if you have the basic experience and qualifications to be successful at the job and proceed in this process. I mean, my resume says that. Like, once again, I think it's immoral to ask people for the same information multiple times, especially if you're asking them to, like, write the whole thing out. I just, like, I don't even really want to be given this chance. Either just give me an interview and let me explain this, like, in person, or I guess over the phone because it's COVID, or just don't give me a call back because this is to me more insulting. But maybe I'm just an entitled millennial. If you can complete and return this questionnaire ASAP, we're recruiting for two positions, so your immediate attention to this email would be most appreciated. Of course. Um, because this can be completed ASAP, and you're not going to believe how fucking long this is. Please describe the industries you've worked with in a capacity relevant to this job. So this is an open-ended question. I could write like a 10-page essay about that. Like, and this is for a field that deals with other fields. So, like, I've worked for literally like a dozen different industries that are relevant to this. So this could be like 5 or 6 pages each and of itself if I want to be thorough. It doesn't say briefly describe. It just says go through every industry that's vaguely related, write a fucking mini essay on it, and that's question one. Number two, please describe the types of work you've done within each of the following verticals, whatever the fuck that means. Category one, okay, so I just replaced them. So that's 4 categories and any others that would be pertinent to the role. So once again, that's an essay basically for each of those. That's multiple paragraphs for each of them. Because if you have a career of any length, if they're asking you of a broad category, that would be like if you're a construction worker and they say, describe all the projects that you've laid bricks on or something. Or I don't know how construction work works. Let's say you're an office administrator, describe all the companies that you've managed filing for and what you did at each of those, or describe all the companies you did photocopying at. It's just like, it's super long. And this is, we'll get into a minute once again how many actual years of experience it requires. But they probably lied about that too. So that is like multiple pages already. Please rate your familiarity with each of the following pieces of software, where 1 equals no experience to 5 equals expert. I mean, that's fair enough. This is something that's actually directly relevant to it. And as I'm a white collar worker, okay, this is 100% fair. But then we're going to get into the bullshit. For any of the above that you've rated greater than 1, please describe how long you've been a user and how you've used the software. I mean, like, once again, that's an open-ended question. That could be literally like a 10-page essay for each of them. And I know they can go, well, Argent, you're supposed to be smart. You're supposed to know how to do this very briefly. But it depends so much from company to company. There was one form I filled out that the actual answers, and I looked it up to make sure I was doing it right for this particular type of organization, but it was like 7 pages long. So they could want 7 pages here. I don't really know. They probably don't. But it's just kind of the whole like fuck you aspect of it. It's the whole like, we're just going to make you do this even though there's 180 applicants. They're not going to read any of this shit. They might skim through it. I really doubt they'll actually skim through it. They probably already have internal candidates. The last time I did something like this, they had already hired the person and they made me go through this process. And then at the end, they're like, oh, we had actually hired a candidate already, which I think is immoral. And I think the Department of Labor should fine them for doing shit like that because it's wasting my time. And it's not even the time. It's humiliating and it's just such a like shitty thing to do. Um, Please tell us about some of the cool, unique, or interesting types of work relevant to the job you've conducted. Once again, that's an open-ended question. Like, I wish they just say, give us one example for each. Like, that would be reasonable, sort of. I mean, this whole thing is unreasonable, but it's like, I don't know if a job application should really be saying cool. Once again, maybe I'm like Grandpa Argent and I like grew up in the 1950s, but I just whatever. And then there's salary expectations. I always think it's sleazy when they ask you for salary expectations up front. Um it's cuz it varies so much and people will say, "Oh, your industry." But like I've seen senior positions that pay like $44,000 a year and junior positions that pay $60,000 a year and then normal positions that pay $66,000 a year. I've seen like management positions that pay 50,000 and junior management position like it's so dependent upon the company and the sector and how it works more so than any particular job title. So it's kind of like random. It's very, very hard to predict that. And I say that as someone who does go and do research and looks it up and tries to come up with a pretty accurate picture of how much I'm worth. But I always just fucking hate it. I think it's sleazy. I get why they do it. That doesn't make it right. So we have all this, and they're gonna want me to write like a fucking 10-page essay for this. So here it is. How many years of experience do they want for this job? 6 months plus. 6 months plus. They expect you to be able to do this. Maybe that's why the questions are so long, because they want you to like, I don't fucking know. Like they, but it's a senior position, even though it doesn't say senior in the job title. Like, it's a fucking joke, and this is probably a form email anyways. They don't bother to type it out. But that's what they want for their senior, non-senior position. These people are so fucking lazy, they can't even get the job title right. And I've seen stuff in these, like, where it directly contradicts itself, where it'll say 3 years required of experience, and then later in the job ad it'll say 6 years of experience required. They don't know. They don't bother to proofread this shit. You're expected to proofread it. You're expected to proofread it and make assumptions about what they want, yada yada yada. And that's just peak late capitalism for you. And this is the kind of shit that we have to deal with. And people call millennials entitled because they get irritated of stuff like this. Oh, well, you just have to pull up your bootstraps and fill out these worthless application forms they aren't actually going to read, when they already have people who do that. And it's like, just keep pounding the pavement. You walk into a place and say you're gonna hire me, and they hire you, I guess, before security escorts you out. But this is the kind of cunts that you have to deal with in this field. And this person, I'm pretty sure, doesn't even work for the company. They're one of these like fucking HR parasite sub companies that deal with this shit. And I just can't take it. This is before an interview. I could answer all this shit in an interview pretty easily. Maybe I'll ask them if I can make a YouTube video and put it up on my channel and send them a link to it. But it's just such a fucking cunty behavior. I can't fucking take it. It's just Nazbol. Nazbol for life. We need a planned economy if it means we don't have to deal with this nonsense anymore. Fuck me.